Have you ever been in love?
I don't think so.
Do you want me to describe it to you?
Happy No Nuance November. If your feminism is white feminism and is not intersectional, it's really just white supremacy.
You know, I've actually played this game with other people, but usually it's about life support machines. Okay, we're going to play how deeply rooted is your misogyny. Ready? It's simple. You just have to try to answer this question. What is the difference between a fetus using my uterus, my blood, my internal organs to sustain its life, and a child being on an airplane? I'll give you a hint. One is a woman's body. One is a machine.
I've noticed that whenever we talk about women's issues, men always feel the need to pivot the conversations back to them. They always feel the need to get defensive and make themselves the victim. For example, whenever we talk about the patriarchy and how it hurts women, men will bring up the fact that it hurts men too. And that's true. It does. But here's the difference. Men being hurt by the patriarchy is an unintended consequence. Women being hurt by the patriarchy is the whole fucking point. So while we can have a whole conversation about toxic masculinity and how that hurts men, right now we're talking about women's issues. We're talking about women. So please sit down and listen, sir. Because some of y'all don't bring that fact up to further the conversation. You bring it up to derail it. You don't bring it up because you're concerned about men's issues. You bring it up to shut us up.
You know what I really hate, son? The government. Yes, precisely.
Hey there, hi, my name is Mercury, I'm the trans maintenance lady. Are you a fellow trans, non-binary, or femme-human, and you hate calling maintenance whenever you have a bathtub that's draining really slow? Well, so do I. Today I'm going to teach you how to take care of it yourself.
This is the drain we're going to be working on today. This one twists off, but yours might be a little different. This is called a hand auger. What I did was cut the tip of it off and angle it at a 45-degree angle to help it to get down the drain a lot easier. If you don't do this, you'll have a harder time pushing it down the drain. Now I'm going to release the lock and it's going to pop out. Then I'm going to start by putting it down the hole. Once it goes as far as it's going to go, I'm going to lock it and then twist it to help it go farther down the line. And then pull it towards you to get the clog out. And here it is.
Now, there may be easier ways to fix it, but remember, an easy fix today is a hard fix tomorrow.
When I was 6, a man continued to breach my boundaries. I told him he made me feel uncomfortable, but he pressed on anyways. When I was 11, I went to a friend's birthday party. We played Twister, and another boy entitled himself to my body. At 12, a boy started a rumor that we made out, then he played innocent, while the internalized misogyny of my friends lashed out. When I was 13 in my grade 8 English class, a boy said Emily has a weight problem, then everyone laughed. Later that year, I confided about my eating disorder to a friend, and he sighed and asked me when the attention-seeking would end. When I was 16, a boy broke my heart, but he didn't just reject me. No, that was just the start. First, he used me and gaslit me and pinned me against a friend, and at that point, I was nearly begging for an end. That same year, my school banned yoga pants because they were too revealing, and my grade 10 religion teacher told me they gave him an uncomfortable feeling. When I was 17 and at my friend's house, her little sister's friend was there crying her eyes out. Because the boys in my grade pretended to like her, then they humiliated her, pointed, and laughed at her. When I was pregnant with my 3rd child, I was weighed down by depression, so I went to see a doctor to ask them about my options. He told me life was hard and then sent me on my way. He said, "Mothers get tired. You'll feel better someday." When I say I trust women more than men, it is not about feminism vilifying them. When I say I trust women more than I trust men, it's because these are only a few of the experiences I've had to make me wary of them.
I mean, hey, there's Molly Weasley. She was written as a fat character, and she's pretty cool. You really want to do this, Mom? Oh no. Well, on the surface, it seems like Molly Weasley was written as a fat character who wasn't a trope. But when you think about it, she really hits all the problematic criteria for fat women in this book. To start out, she received the exact same education that Arthur did, and yet none of her kids go to her for support or answers about magical concerns. All of her kids make fun of her for liking traditional feminine things, like romantic, sappy music, doing household chores. And she's portrayed as kind of ditzy, but again, she received the same magical education that Arthur did. Yeah. The only time we see Molly Weasley get treated as anything other than a simpleton homemaker is when she yells, "Not my daughter, you bitch," to Bellatrix. And then we never hear from her again. That was like her redemptive arc, according to Rowling. We can't ground her for this, right? Also, she was totally aware that Harry was being abused by the Dursleys and was just okay with it.
To all my feminist kings, queens, and non-binary royalty, we've got a problem. And the problem is white feminism. We're supposed to be in an age where feminism means intersectional feminism, as in, there is no other kind of feminism. Because for most of history, feminism has been centred around the straight white woman, particularly the middle-class woman. Hello! But increasingly, women of colour are distancing themselves from feminism. Understandably, they don't really think that white women truly care about the issues affecting women of colour, and that intersectionality is a performance. And that breaks my heart. Because more often than not, the issues that feminists are fighting to put on the agenda disproportionately affect women of colour. And we should be united in our anger about that. Let's take domestic violence, for instance. According to a report, African American women are 2.5 times as likely to experience domestic violence, and yet significantly less likely to get support afterwards. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I want you to share with me an issue that affects women who are not like you. Whether it's race issues, trans issues, anything, let's just show that intersectional feminism lives.
Welcome to the final part of the worst show I've ever watched. I, for one, hate that this technology exists because it was overused in every 2000s makeover show. Why? And like all of these transformation makeover shows that really played up that whole like, we're so humanitarian, and you should be very grateful for it.
I came here with very low self-esteem about myself, and with the help of all of the doctors, dentists, the trainer, Nelly, and Dr. Yanni, I found my heart and soul here.
And it's very easy to watch clips like that and get caught up in that like, oh, I guess I'm being a little too harsh. But let me remind you that we're literally grading humans on how they look. Okay? Show's very good at gaslighting you. And equally as good at gaslighting every single one of its contestants to the point that they have lasting damage. So for context on a lot of these, the contestants are not allowed to see themselves for 3 months during the surgery and over-exercising, etc. And then they film them reacting when they do a mirror reveal. This is a contestant from the first season saying that when she first noticed herself, she was in shock. And the show made them retake that reveal in the mirror so that she would look less shocked. Here's a contestant from the same season saying that her children did not recognize her until she started talking. Another contestant saying that after being on the show, she is now depressed, bipolar, agoraphobic, and suffers from intense body dysmorphia, gaining all of the weight back and more that she had lost on this show. And yet another contestant saying she was so happy when people in her hometown stopped recognizing her because she is so embarrassed for being a part of this television show. It's almost as if putting all of your eggs into the external change basket isn't the best for healing. And don't think for a second that I blame any of these women for what happened to them. This is all a result of the patriarchy and consumerism and capitalism and the disgusting nature of Hollywood and television in general. And this show tries very hard to wipe itself from existence to the point that it's not streaming anywhere. I had to buy a DVD player and someone was kind enough to send me the hard copy DVDs to watch this show. The intense emphasis of women needing to be thin, white, able-bodied, young, hairless, like it's quite literally killing us. Like, it's not lost on me that the very few women of color who were actually on this show had a lot of their features changed to be very Eurocentric. And yes, this show is an extreme example of those things, but that new year, new you messaging that comes out every year is echoes of this. Your body is one of the least interesting things about you. Join me next month for episode 5.
Ich konnte das Video leider nicht stitchen, deswegen mache ich es jetzt so. Ich hoffe, das ist okay. Paula spricht hier einen ganz, ganz wichtigen Punkt an. Stichwort ist Intersektionalität. Was hat die denn damit zu tun? Ich habe dazu schon mal ein Video gemacht, aber Intersektionalität beschreibt verschiedene Diskriminierungsformen, die sich überschneiden. In Paulas Fall wäre es, dass sie diskriminiert wird, weil sie eine Frau und weil sie schwarz ist. Bei weißen schwulen Männern wäre es nur eine, die Tatsache, dass sie schwul sind. Ein sehr großes Problem in solchen Diskussionen ist, dass manche schwule Männer ihr Privileg nicht anerkennen wollen. Sehr, sehr oft fallen dann Aussagen wie, ich habe aber genauso viele Probleme wie du. Nein. Deine Probleme sind anders als die Paula erlebt. Dein Weißsein oder auch dein Mannsein bringt dir gewisse gesellschaftliche Vorteile, die Paula nicht besitzt. Versteh einfach, welches Privileg du besitzt und benutze nicht die gesellschaftliche Ungerechtigkeit, die du erlebst, um die von anderen kleiner zu reden. Für die sagen wollen, dass Paula dasselbe tut, macht sie nicht. Sie hat einfach nur dieses Phänomen zu Recht geoutcalled. Danke.
Here are my favorite type of women. Women who unapologetically take space. Women who own their sexualities. Women who do not define womanhood for anybody else. Women who are assertive. If this is you, I love you.
This is probably going to piss off a lot of people. But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor. Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist. Because a self-aware man knows that he has it brainwashed into him. And any time that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor. Almost all women have sexual trauma and emotional abuse trauma, literally just from society. And she's taking a risk in being with you and making a commitment to help you undo your brainwashing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't date the opposite gender, but a lack of awareness can cause problems.